Tilt your screen down just a little.
Yeah,
No,
great.
his, Dana's.
All right.
We can't see the bear.
Welcome everybody
That's
to the select board
Oh my
meeting,
God, getting dizzy.
March 18th. We're getting started slightly late at 6:45 due to some technical difficulties. So welcome, we'll start us always with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, that moves us on to roll call. Dave Hemingway here at the select board.
Normandy Blake.
Marlo Herrick.
And then on to announcements. One follow-up announcement, I will say, please check all of the announcements that were made at town meeting. They all still apply. Make sure you're getting your fire permits. They are needed, and you can pick them up on Wednesdays at the meetings in the evening at the fire station. Also, an update. We just finished getting together the pages for the solar array, for the full status of that. So hopefully in the next few days, I'll have some time to get that put up on our website and linked to from there, so everyone will be able to see all of the data for that with all of our updated and replaced warranted work inverters, so everything is fully producing. Did we have any further announcements from the board?
Nope.
Any further announcements from town? Okay.
I don't, Dave. Yeah.
So that would move us on to our appointment, which will be Chris Shadler for the future of the Grapevine. I do, however, want to do one piece of business that we traditionally do after an election is done, and that is to offer that we can re-choose a chair for the select board.
Yeah, you want to talk about this? You want to go out back?
Right. No, I nominate Dave as chair.
Second that. Yeah, all right, good to
All
go.
in favor?
Moving on.
Yeah.
Aye. Okay. So, welcome, Chris.
Thank you. So, the town has had almost 4 decades of the Grapevine. And
Congratulations and thank you.
I know, it really sounds long.
it is a long time. And so, when you decide to retire, the town is going to lose basically its voice. I think that the town should invest some time and energy into consideration of perhaps making the Grapevine, as was suggested when we talked a couple of days ago, into a nonprofit, which I think is a really good idea. And I would also like to propose that, because I would like to see the town support the idea of this, being able to move Dee's copier into the basement, into that little area that's off to the side, and maybe donating a couple of long tables for collation, and being able to put the newspaper together. How we put the newspaper together is the big problem. And when we were talking about it sort of casually the other day, I was thinking that we would ask people from the community to volunteer to participate in several positions. A couple for advertising, one for editing. Maybe it would be wise to think about even having a small board with Dee as the chair of that board. You're going to be really necessary to guide those of us that are interested in keeping this thing alive, but who probably have never put a newspaper together in our entire lives. So it would be really important to have you as involved as possible in your retirement. So, basically, I wanted to come before you to get your sense of what might be accomplished by a voluntary group of citizens that would not only put the newspaper together, but perhaps other people who could deliver the newspapers, around. So if there were, say, 3 or 4 people working on delivery, and we divided the town into 3 or 4 chunks, then it wouldn't be overwhelming for any one person to do the job. As I've been thinking about it quite a bit over the last few days, I've been thinking about how complicated it seems to me right now to actually get the volunteers, find out who in the community might be interested in participating. I have very little doubt that the majority of people in town who actually read the Grapevine, I think the majority of people would want to see the Grapevine continue. We don't have a town center where people can gather. There's no other way really to get the information that we need to get around town without it. So, being as optimistic as I can possibly be, I'm thinking that maybe if the select board would be willing to send out a letter introducing the idea of this and asking for volunteers. It would be the cost of the postage for it to go out. I'd be personally really glad to contribute to that. I think that would be a way to get it started, but I'm looking for ideas.
Well, I'll be glad to help you. The biggest problem with Webster is because they have 2 postal routes, that's the trouble with Webster. You have to cover the, 3, and you have to cover, if you're gonna have the postal person do it.
No,
but they could have delivered it, but.
Oh, you mean the letter the select board would send out?
No, I mean the
mail, the
newspaper,
thing, to get the delivery out.
to get the paper out.
Oh,
That's
So
the-
she delivers all of them. to
I
all-
understand
yeah,
what she
yeah.
does.
But that's the problem.
With not
Because
having
there's-
our own zip code.
So
Just a
that
minute,
is the
please.
whole problem, because you'd have to do, what the post office told me is if you're gonna have, like, I don't know, where Warner, I guess, delivers part of Webster, and I don't know.
It's all out of
You know all that.
It's
yeah.
all out of Concord.
But they're
but there's-
different routes.
Yeah, there are 3 different routes, and the smallest one is Route 14, which does a little bit of Deer Meadow Road. They do Pleasant Street, Long Street, and Pearson Hill, and some of Corn Hill right there. But the other routes, one does this half, and the other one does the other half from Tyler Road over, and all of Pillsbury Lake, etc.
Wasn't Pillsbury Lake out of Kentucky?
And
No,
the problem you have
Everything's
is,
not- because
what
of
I
the
was
zip code.
told, and I know that they know where the line is, but I'd have to cover the whole route with the newspaper. So I'd have to make papers like for Bosquen and wherever else, some of it must be Warner, you'd know all that.
Yeah,
But we're not talking about any other towns.
No,
other than
that's
Webster.
it, but that's why I never mailed them, because I'd have to, and they wouldn't just say, well, you can just mail to Warner, because, I used to be a mail person too at one time. So I'd have to do all the papers for the whole run. So if it's 200 in Webster, I'd have to do like 600 papers if it was 400 more in Bosquen or Warner or
Oh,
whatever.
I'm
Because
getting,
if you pay for distribution, you're paying for a route, not a town.
I wasn't imagining paying for a distribution.
You would have your volunteers do the
Yes,
delivery?
volunteers would go downstairs, take their pile of newspapers and go out and do their section of Webster.
When I first did it, we did have people that volunteered to take their papers on their routes, on their roads. Well, I'll do this road and that one. That's true, that happened for, I don't know how long, but it did happen for quite a while,
Yeah.
a few years.
I think, Chris, they might have been thinking about the postcard that you wanted to send out.
I'm trying to clarify what it is we're actually talking about.
We need a zip code, is
Oh,
what we're talking about.
Kim, please, don't.
Oh,
Please
Please
don't.
do, Kim.
If you
We
want to
need an
send,
identity.
if you want to send out a postcard to everybody to look for volunteers, you'd have to pay the first-class postage on a postcard.
Right.
Otherwise, the other thing is called every door direct mail, which goes by a full route, and you don't want that.
I don't even want a postcard. I'm thinking that you and possibly Dee or anybody else, anybody who's interested in this venture would craft a letter that could be as exciting as we could possibly make this letter to get people fired up to keep the grapevine going. And whatever kind of postage would be required.
It's a separate entity, is it not commercial by itself?
What was that?
Is the Grapevine a separate commercial entity by itself as it stands now?
No.
Is it part of Webster?
What she's asking you is it's your own, it was your own business.
Is it your own
Yeah, it's-
enterprise?
yeah, that's
my
what
own
she's asking.
business.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah.
It says that.
Are you
Normandy
trying to blend
Enterprises.
it with Webster?
I'm not blending. I'm not doing anything.
So-
I'm just proposing the idea, so.
What is the idea?
Well,
So-
you're a little bit late on this.
I know, so why don't you
So
catch me
I'll
up?
summarize a little bit and give you a
Thank
couple
you.
thoughts in the process. We've obviously heard several times that Dee is gonna be retiring from the Grapevine. And we've heard several times that somebody wanted to take it over and did or didn't. We had several months where there was no Grapevine, and we had a Grapevine this month. And so discussion has been had with, I believe, Chris and Dee mainly about how do we keep this going when Dee's not gonna just be doing it forever.
Thank you.
And as much as she would love to, that's just not something that's forever going to be her running around delivering everywhere and so on. The concept brought forward was to turn the Grapevine into a nonprofit entity and
Commercial,
a
nonprofit corporation?
Organization, not corporation.
501c3.
They're opposite.
501c3 is a corporation, just so I clarify.
And what's
I'm
the
fully
benefit,
well
what's the
aware.
benefit of that?
And so the
us,
suggestion
it's
there
private
was
entity.
for keeping, I believe, was to keep the Grapevine as an entity, to involve other people as a standard nonprofit board that helps make decisions and helps make things run. Give them,
Create it. Do it.
Give them say in it as well as have Dee at the head of it. The second portion of Chris's request is that the town help suggest this and or champion it, and because it is the main voice of Webster, to provide a location for the group to meet and to have the copier housed. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but that's
No.
my take on what you've said.
That's-
And so that's what's, I believe, being requested. As far as nonprofits and capabilities, well, obviously, there's lots of nonprofits that fail, lots of nonprofits that don't get enough people, our own boards and committees that don't get enough people volunteering for them. So finding volunteers is certainly the challenging part.
Yeah.
I personally, and this is just me, I'm not speaking on behalf of the board, I have zero problems with, for example, linking to something, putting a web page up that says, hey, this is what they're trying to do, contact so-and-so. I have no problems doing any of that to support creation of the nonprofit and to try to get that word out. And if there's going to be future newspapers, I'm sure it can be a front page thing in the Grapevine.
Yeah.
We know the editor.
Yeah, right.
So, that being said, I would also point out some of the wonderful things and the successes that a nonprofit can do. We've actually got several of them right here in the Historic Society. They've managed to save buildings and bring back lots of history and archive all kinds of things. And I would say that the way that they've done things in interacting with the town is also a model for how to blend, per se, a nonprofit and the town. For example, they purchased a computer that was donated to the library that has the data on it from their findings. And so in similar fashion, if the nonprofit is purchasing out and or donating Dee's copier and so on, those are the sorts of things that can make those arrangements work. I'm not saying we're agreeing to anything, but those are the kinds of things that can work in that manner. Where it's basically just an ad for, like, a value add for the town to allow support from a nonprofit to come into town and work with the town. That's my comments on it. Any other comments from the board before we go back?
I have no clue about nonprofits, so that's not, I'm lost on that. I mean, I'd love to see my paper, it's a nice honor to wanna have my paper keep going. I'd love to see it keep going. I can do help and all that. But I'm getting old enough, my kids are giving me a hard time, so sometime I have to retire, I guess, but I'm playing my garden, maybe. But
So how about the room and where this copier would go? Where are they
I
thinking?
think they're thinking about the little alcove downstairs in the, like,
before the
not
dining
the
room.
kitchen, but
Oh,
the
there's
like
a
edge
little,
of the dining room.
okay,
area.
yeah.
On the left-hand side.
There's room in there that it would fit?
Oh, yeah.
I
It's
don't know
only
the
a-
size of her
Yeah, the
stuff, but-
copier's not, probably from here to there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then
right.
how do you feel about donating it?
Well, I can do that, I guess.
I leave that up to her and the nonprofit. to
Okay, so
figure out
that
what they're doing.
that wouldn't, we don't have to take, okay.
I mean, it's still, I bought a brand new one a couple of years, I mean, this is like my 4th copier in 40 years or whatever it was. And so knock on wood, it's still great and, it should last a long time, so.
And when having a nonprofit that would use this area of the town hall, I'm just gonna be devil's advocate. It doesn't work out. Who's responsible for removing the items that they have brought in? Would that be their responsibility?
In theory, that would be the case. If they completely disband and there's absolutely nobody, then it's electronic recycling valuation.
Okay, so that wouldn't be a concern. And I'm not saying that would even happen. I just,
But it
as
could.
part of the town,
Yeah.
doing whenever you do
Any sort of-
anything that's
so-
fun like this, things can go the bad way.
Yeah, so any sort of like donation, et cetera, would be between Dee and the nonprofit. Any sort of it being housed here and access to space and so on would then be a contract between the town and the nonprofit. Because it would be the difference between, for example, the Historic Society saying, well, we're just gonna donate it and people can use it, versus we're gonna donate it and we need to keep having access all the time. That's a bit different. But especially with the key card accesses that we have, that's easy to do, easy to set for specific times, and easy to track. So,
How about along the lines like we were talking about the other day when you have a nonprofit that's in a public building, does there need to be any cost to that nonprofit?
oh yeah, you're talking about with the other town.
And I'm just
Again,
asking the
that's
question, being
all-
devil's advocate. I would love to see it go.
Good question.
Yeah, so
Depends
again,
upon
that's all in
domicile.
whatever that contract and agreement is.
Right.
We do have a rental fee for the full hall.
True.
But that's also very different than like a meeting of a group that may or may not happen here. So whether it's a school event or other things that are actually their own separate entity, but they're happening here, it's not like we're charging. And for most local nonprofits, we don't charge to use the hall as part of our rental agreements.
But this would be, there would be electricity and wear and tear.
Just like if
Yeah.
they're up here running stuff.
No, but I meant in this facility,
Yeah,
of where your printer
well,
would
right,
go.
but like if they come over here, for example, and throw the glow night or what, I can't remember exactly what they named it, it was a good name.
Yeah,
But if they come over here and throw that, you're dealing with all kinds of electricity usage.
well,
And all
right,
kinds of wear and
Right.
tear, including we got a piece of broken glass out of it.
right,
And, you know, we're not charging them, we're taking care of it because that's the right thing to do for the community.
right.
In general, for nonprofits, that has been the pattern that's done for the town to local in-town nonprofits. I'm not saying that is going to be the case, but generally that's the case. But all of that, it would be covered in some form of contract between the
Right,
nonprofit and
right.
the town.
And I think the only difference in what you're talking about and what we're talking about, we're talking about something that is gonna run, I would say. I don't know how much would it run?
What,
To run
Time,
the
you mean?
paper and run electricity and sun, and how much time people would be here
How long
using.
does the copier actually run for
Oh
an
my
average?
And how much would people have to be here? You know, those are just the different costs that could occur and not say.
my copier's a fast one, so it'll do a couple of hundred in like a couple of minutes. So I do have a
And-
really good copier, so that's one thing. And,
That's awesome.
and if people set it up at home, if they do the pages at home, all they have to do is come here and,
Gotcha.
print, basically.
And it's
So
to have that
I can't imagine
location.
it would use that much electricity, because I don't see much different use in my electricity bill.
So really, can I speak?
Yep.
So I would have imagined that since the paper goes out once a month,
Yep,
ideally, we would be able to get it out once, I'm saying we, whoever,
Yeah.
would get it out once a month. The
Not
area
much time.
downstairs would be used once a month to run the copier, and I'm imagining that the collating would occur downstairs by the person who's running the copier.
yeah.
So in my dreams, it's a high school kid from Hopkinton or wherever who can run a copier and who wants to make a couple of extra bucks collating.
Oh, I'm sure you could get kids to do that.
Yeah,
That's true.
no,
Or Webster.
And she's been asking for a bit.
I personally would prefer not to get the paper. And aside from the environmental impacts of somebody driving all over this town to put a piece of paper in a mailbox, we could do a website and a subscription service, or at least whoever wants to get it by mail, we print it off for them and put it in the postal service. And the rest of them, they can pick it up online. Just have a PDF on the town website of the latest grapevine. And then the cost for postage could be borne by the subscriptions that you sell. Somebody pays to advertise on the grapevine, those would pay for it. The other thing that would probably make sure that this endures is to have some paid staff. So if we could,
That's your number.
not a lot of money, but
Hate it.
someone who gets some money for editing the whole thing and making sure the PDF is up on the website, and then we get volunteers to put the mailers on it, put it in the mail. I think it would reduce the cost, reduce the carbon footprint, and have a wider distribution. And some skin in the game. Someone who's getting a little bit of extra money for doing this.
So I'm going to say for a second that yes, I agree with the comments that you're making. However, first, the demographic in Webster has not fully changed to everybody being happy with digital yet.
That's sad.
And second, that these are things that would be proper discussions for a nonprofit group's meeting, not this one.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you through, Bob?
I'm done, yeah.
Okay. I have a quick question. I understand and I respect, all the years that Dee has done this. I have two questions. First and foremost, where is your enterprise domiciled out of?
My house,
Okay, so that's a separate Dee Blake enterprise that is owned by you individually or whatever shareholders you have that has produced this
it's under
paper
my
over
name.
the last 35 years plus, sorry.
What's your question?
So it's run out of your house. You
Yeah.
own it, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, she owns
Okay.
it.
I own the copier and all that.
So I don't want to get convoluted here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, you've done a great job in really explaining, because although we all appreciate, or a good many of us, appreciate all the work that Dee's done in regards to the grapevine over all these years, and yes, Chris, we do not want to see it go away, because it's a great informational piece. Recognizing that Dave has said this is a separate nonprofit, okay? From my understanding of nonprofit corporate law in the state of New Hampshire, under the charitable trust laws, I'm assuming that you have domiciled this at your house, which means that you do all of the work that's entailed
Yes.
at your house,
Yep.
okay? As a, per se,
But mine's not a
private
nonprofit
entity.
either. I'm trying to make a profit.
Absolutely, as a private entity.
Yep.
So I don't want to, and I do want to recognize state law that supersedes, particularly in Webster, is this nonprofit that is in the future, from my understanding, it has not even been created yet, as a separate entity with its own board of directors, with its own budget, with its own fiscal agent, with its own, whatever the case may be, separately. Will that in fact be domiciled here? I'm hearing a lot of work being done actively in the lower part of our town hall. But will that in fact be domiciled here? Okay?
That would
And
be-
why that becomes a big concern of mine is what becomes our, as a town, liability when it is domiciled here. Taking that one step further, and it's wonderful to see the board in particular of the Society for the Preservation of the Old Meeting House here tonight, AKA, or doing business as, the Webster Historical Society. They have, from my understanding, been having a computer within our municipal offices, although they are not domiciled here. So in accordance to nonprofit laws in the state of New Hampshire through the Charitable Trust Organization or the Charitable Trust AG's office, a quasi municipal nonprofit has to be domiciled within the municipal building in order to get that benefit. From my understanding, the Society of the Preservation of the Old Meeting House is not domiciled here, although they have utilized and opened and using a space within our library for people to access.
They've donated a computer.
Correct.
No, we donated money for the computer.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Both of them are a little bit.
They are, it's so
But-
convoluted, Dot. You know, sometimes
What-
these things
what is
get
your
so
point
big.
regarding this
I wanna make
nonprofit?
sure that we do not have any liability. I understand, Chris, you really like to see the news and the ongoing things and all the wonderful things that Dee has done over these years. I wanna make sure there's no liability to the town, because sometimes when we put things in print, as we've seen, they're not necessarily factual. And if in
That's
fact
most media.
things are not factual and our town is domiciling and accepting this, there is a significant amount of liability here.
So I will,
I'm concerned about that.
I'll
I
go
think we
along
need
with
to
your
do a whole lot,
thing
as a
about
town,
liability.
a whole lot more investigation and research and knowledge into the nonprofit laws through the charitable trust organization or association.
I
or-
wanna recognize what I think is your main point,
Yeah.
which is make sure the town doesn't become liable for any sort of libel, et cetera, that may
This
happen.
nonprofit should not be domiciled here.
And that's fine.
Let them do their own business. If they want to take it over
Okay,
from D, let 'em do their own deal.
And that's fine. Again, any kind of agreement like that that would eventually, in theory, possibly be made, would be run through legal counsel for
legal
those sorts of
counsel has,
questions.
oh my goodness
Would be
gracious.
run through things like standard law practices, best practices from NHMA, would be run through several different layers of, let's make sure this is all correct.
Absolutely.
And, of course, it would be its own nonprofit organization, which doesn't exist yet. So,
This
that
is
being
way
said,
premature.
it would be
It's
all of
great
that.
that
So-
Chris wants to do this.
So a lot of
and
the
create
things
her own
that you're saying are
nonprofit.
very valid
It's
concerns,
not my nonprofit.
but are not really applicable for what's happening now, other than the people who are going to form the nonprofit, whoever that may be, to think about and how that should best be.
It has to be your nonprofit.
So-
The same way as she's got a private entity.
No, it's not my anything. It's,
So,
this is why I.
anyway.
Moving on.
Can't wait to get back to the
Is there anything,
Yes.
is there anything further specific other than you want to consider this and have some
Well,
feedback?
yeah.
Can I ask a
I
related
think-
question?
Oh, 1 second, because I just asked her a question.
I think, first of all, I think there's some value in your suggestion. I think it's
It's
a
just
really
a
good
different
idea.
business model.
No,
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. I think, anybody interested in this should be very open to any possibility for how to get this done.
Start your own business.
I know, I
Right there.
don't. Please, Ken. I love the idea of maybe having one more grapevine that has it splashed on the cover. And that would be a great way to get this out. I would help you deliver, and so will Isabel. We know that.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So, that might be a quick and easy way of getting the idea out into the public.
So, in order to not take more time out of the meeting here for things that are how to form a nonprofit, I'm going to suggest that you and Dee and other people that you know are already interested, talk, figure out when you might all want to meet together and propose a time, and propose that anyone who wants to be interested or involved come meet at that time at a place, put that
Right.
on the front page.
And could we,
After they have.
excuse me,
After you have already
Dave,
formed your
Kim,
501c3.
Kim.
stop,
It's a
please.
separate entity.
Stop.
They don't
Please.
need to be a separate entity for them to have a discussion about becoming a separate entity. Please.
So I know that Russ is somewhat familiar with nonprofits. Would it be possible to involve
Check in.
Russ?
I leave that up to your discussions with
willing to
Russ.
volunteer some
We-
time
We
for that.
cannot tell him to do anything like that as a town.
Absolutely. Thank
Okay.
you, David. Thank you.
It
Okay.
would be on my own personal time, but yeah,
Correct.
I'd be willing to help out.
Thank you.
Okay.
So,
I know
sorry.
nothing about nonprofits, so.
No, I'm
So-
willing to help out.
So, sorry, you wanted to.
Yeah, my question was to Dee, did you have or did you see a need to have liability insurance?
Wait, I'm sorry, can't hear you. What?
Did you need or see a reason to have liability insurance?
No, no.
So you've never been sued or anything?
No, I don't think my paper mate has much, it's selectmen's notes and planning board and all that, and I don't sit there trying to get people. I just like the news, I want people to show up at places, meetings, and that's what
Yeah.
my papers did. People showed up, and because before, nobody had you had 20 people showing up and at a meeting that is very important, and things went awry. You've been here a long time, you know.
Minutes and announcements mainly, yes.
So, anyway, and that's what, I like seeing people show up. And I did it in 3 towns too, Salisbury, Boston, same thing happened, people show up. And they voice their opinions and they're not afraid, and that's what
That's
makes it a
democracy.
town meeting.
Yep, exactly.
So,
So, okay, well, thanks. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And best of luck with
Whatever.
retirement or a nonprofit or
Yeah,
whatever you do. All right, that moves us on to old business, a copier, which I believe Dana has further information for us. I don't see him anymore.
We lost Dana?
Yeah.
Oh, it says there's a Dana waiting in the lobby.
Oh, yeah, we must have
Maybe
lost.
there was a connection.
That might have been.
I didn't know we lost.
How they go?
I didn't know he wasn't here.
Oh, there he is.
He's
Welcome
back.
back.
Were you napping?
So
I
we've
know
just,
you were worried.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we've just moved on to old business, the copier, and believe you have a bunch to tell us. Or so Russ has indicated.
There was a lot.
For the spreadsheet.
Nice little spread.
Work that I sent to you. And then I've done, there's two sheets. One is, it puts them in order by cost, and the other is by cost to lease. And then the second page is more detailed about the machine, how much per copy. And most of the maintenance agreements, the copy charge per copy includes the maintenance and supplies except for paper.
Okay, so I see a large list which now includes basically all of the name brands as we requested last time. So what would you like us
The only one
to?
I could not get was HP.
So what would you
Be
like us
copier.
to look at this point?
So where this says the state pricing, is this what the ones that the state use, I'm assuming, by you
Yes.
saying that?
So we get
Not that
access to
smart,
the
but-
state pricing.
Okay. So did you talk to anybody at the state that has this and uses this? And, I mean, I'm, not to be the cheapest is the best, but I guess I'd look at it as the state uses it. What is our risk with somebody like this?
They were the only vendor that, in order, they have to be vetted to be in the state list.
Right?
I talked to anyone about how if they have that particular model, I have not.
So I will point out that that is the least cost per copy in the list, but that must be because of the fees being included in it, because it is the same unit that was suggested by Twin Rivers, which is a few numbers down from it, and a much higher cost per copy. But I believe that would be mostly because of the monthly charge being a lot higher for the maintenance agreement.
Where do you see, explain that to me,
so
Dave, because I
the-
see
The monthly charge, you mean for the lease?
So if you see vendor, make and model, cost to purchase, and then monthly cost. The cost to purchase from the state pricing and then a few down Twin Rivers,
Yeah,
you'll notice is much less for the state pricing, which is nice to see the state actually gets a good deal on some things, even though several other things they don't. But also the monthly cost there for the monthly maintenance is far lower than what was proposed by Twin Rivers.
yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
that is where you're going to see that plus actual toner costs coming up into a lower charge per copy.
Right, so what,
So do you have a suggestion or recommendation? And am I incorrect in reading that financially, the best decision is probably to go with whatever the state has gotten
Right.
and their contracts.
Because really, this list makes it easy unless there's something really weird about this copier that we don't know about.
And I'm not familiar with that particular, I mean, I know Toshiba is a name that's known. I've known other Toshiba products not to be as reliable. But obviously they were better to be in the state list. Many of the others, it's quite a significant difference.
Very big.
It's about half the cost of the
Yeah,
others.
and I mean, again, it's important to have a good copier, but it's, we're not as,
This is a much nicer price.
I'm just gonna
If
say
you're
that.
also worried about it breaking down, you could always lease it, so if it breaks down, it's their problem.
Yeah, I don't,
Now, the leasing that's listed up here, is that, like, how long is the lease? What happens when it's done? Is this a lease to own or a lease with an option to purchase at a discount at the end? Like, what are all of those numbers?
I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing, but the lease is, the highest is 60 months, and it's $1 buyout at the end of the contract.
so it's just, yeah,
So it's 60 months, but if you lease it, you have paid the amount of the purchase price in 40 months. So 20 months worth, or almost 2 years, you're just paying for leasing to be able to do it monthly instead of purchasing it. That might make some sense if we were talking about a, $13, $15, $20, $30,000 copier. But when it's been quoted at more than double the price, and it's only $46.70, I say only, but I mean, that's
Well, that's a heck
still
of a
a
lot
chunk
better-
of
that's
change,
half
but
of
it's a
what we were
whole
talking
lot
about,
better
talking
than,
about
like,
10,000.
yeah, it's like
I
half or
still,
less of
which
what
I
we
was not swallowing very well.
expected, so. Is there anything, like, what are you looking for from us at this point? You can go ahead with that if ours
Well, I
breaks
mean,
or
we're
what?
getting, the old copier is giving us more trouble. And, and I don't mean, it's running, it's way beyond its life expectancy. We've been cannibalizing parts for it off of other machines. And at one point, obviously, we're not going to be able to do that. So I just want to be sure, I'm not really big on spending money, but yet we do need this piece of equipment. Now, I've got monthly costs on the sheet that you have, and that's the lease payment,
Oh, okay.
and not a maintenance agreement. So if you were to lease the top one, for example, the Xerox, the payment, and I think it's because this is on an Excel sheet and I didn't move over the place, it'd be $269.86 a month. The
Okay.
Toshiba, which would be the lowest one with the state pricing, $46.70, $117 per month.
With the maintenance fee, it's
We've got-
$15.75, right?
Okay, I see. Yeah, so the cost for service maintenance, the $15.75 per month from the state pricing one is also by far the lowest there. You could argue if you're not using it, that maybe the Kyocera, a few down, has the potential to be cheaper, but not if you're actively using it for much.
Do we have an average amount of copies that we make a year, or a month, or a week, or?
I'm not sure how we get.
3,000 a month is, black and white is what normal, it depends on the time of year, but normally 3,000 a month.
And
Maybe
what is,
100 color.
what is the number included with the state pricing, or is that a flat fee no matter how many we do?
Did we lose him?
With the state pricing, the maintenance, the monthly maintenance is $15.75 per month. That's your base, and that allows you 3,000 black and white copies per month.
Okay, so
And I
it's more
believe
copies than the others.
Yeah. And if you go over that, it basically kind of comes out to a charge per click. As you see, the black and white 0035 with the colors 3.5. So I mean, all around the state pricing is the best price wise.
Yep.
I don't know. I think it's a good idea to find out if they like the Toshiba 3525. The representative did bring me in a sample of the copies, and they look very nice. Actually, they're not going to give me an awful one. At least I hope, yeah.
So what are you looking for from us today?
Well, I'm looking for a decision to which copy that we should buy. We definitely need a copier. I'll be glad to research anything further that you'd like. I'm not sure what there is left to research, but I do what you tell me.
Dana, I think just the biggest thing is, I can tell you right now that we've done a lot of talking about this.
Uh-huh.
I'm feeling much better than the 10.
Yeah, that's a
Because
much nicer
I was
price.
not having a very good time with that to begin with.
Yeah.
So, I also think there's money and time and money, right?
Mhm.
So, I would make a motion to go with, and plus the state, if you said, I mean, I suppose we could ask him to call somebody at the state and say, do you hate your printer, but, or copier, I'm sorry. I think that, I would make a motion to go with that, with the state pricing of that printer. I didn't wanna kill a name.
Out of this choice, I would second that. Before we vote, I have one other question there for Dana though, which is if we do decide that we are going to go with this, what is the expected time frame for when we order to when we might see it?
3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be.
So it is something where we can't like just wait until it fully dies and then, okay, we're gonna go down to the state and get one. So,
Yeah, it would be a problem.
That-
That also includes taking away the old machine.
okay,
And I will put in where, as a business owner waiting too long to get a printer, a copier, you start playing with it so much until you get the new one, you're like, holy crap, I just wasted all that time
yep.
screwing with it.
Mhm.
Messing with it. I also probably good language messing with it,
So,
so.
Any further comment or question on the printer? All right, so we have the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain because I do business with a couple of these companies. So I think it's only
Fair
fair
enough.
to me to abstain.
Can I just ask a question
Yes.
for clarity? Were you voting on the Xerox, HP, or Toshiba?
We voted on a Toshiba as provided by the state.
3525?
Yes.
Thank you.
AC,
You see, yeah.
whatever that stands for.
And the state's listed cost for purchase is $4,670. All right. That moves us on to the heating systems, which I see we've gotten another quote. I won't mention pricing specific, or I won't mention specific pricing, in case we have others.
We've gone to 4 heating contractors. We now have 2 bids, I believe. Oh, 3 bids. No, 2 bids. I did talk with our current vendor today, and they're still haven't really decided what the best option is for us to use, and so they didn't have a price that they could share with me. Right now, as you know, we're having the twin furnaces, which they told me was not the way to do it. They always tell you these things after the fact, was not the way to do it. Then when I spoke with them today, they said, well, if we put in 2 new furnaces, you would need to have new ductwork put in, and our company cannot provide that. You'd have to hire that done separately. But I don't have a price that goes with that. The only 2 that I have are the ones that I've submitted to you. One of them, the gentleman came last Friday, spent quite a bit of time here. I thought he had, I thought he really knew what he was doing, and he had some good ideas. And I don't really expect you to make a decision tonight, but we are limping along with the heating.
Dana, what is the age of our current heating system?
I think it's about a 2015. So,
And you had
it's
mentioned,
older than that, I think.
yeah, okay, so around 2015. And you had mentioned that there was some warranty stuff, but then they couldn't get them to warranty. What was the warranty item?
Apparently the warranty, last year, they were working with the company that manufactured the furnace to see if they could get any of it covered by warranty, and it is out of warranty. And I made a mistake when I said 2015 because it's over 10 years old, so it probably is 14, but just barely over 10 years. So the manufacturer was not willing to give any consideration for that.
And that was Huckleberry working with them?
That was Huckleberry working with
Yeah.
them, yes.
I just know we've had some incidents where we were told there was no warranty, and finally when you got to the right person, it got warrantied. So it makes me a little concerned. Now, do I know?
I will say that when I came in, when they were working on this last year, not the most recent times, but they jumped through all of the hoops and were providing all of the results of all of their, we changed this, we did this, and all of that to the manufacturer in order to try to get it warranted for us. And it kind of sort of worked for a little while, and the manufacturer basically said, well, if you can prove it, then we'll warranty that one part, not the whole unit. And that was last year. And so I can't say what the case is this time. Maybe that was just the company trying to put things off because, our warranty's now out because it was like a month or 2 away.
Yeah.
I couldn't say.
Right, which is kind of scary. They do that.
But,
They can get away
I'm
with
not
it.
sure what our recourse would be. I mean, if
Right.
they tell us no, what is our recourse? Do we sue them, or, I'm just.
Well, no, I
I'm
think
just
it's like
saying.
in the case that happened with us personally, actually, is just was getting to the right person at the and we went through
At the
some
manufacturer.
at the manufacturer, and even with some of our equipment that we've owned over the years in our business, definitely have gotten the old door shut in your face until you get to the right person. I guess, and I'm not saying, I don't know what you do that's, my husband's sitting there calling and beating the door down, you know what I mean? And then you finally get that right person to say, well, they were wrong and we should warranty this. But what I would have a hard time with is, what is the major malfunction, which I think you've explained a little bit, Dave, to the furnace, to why we have to, and one that's it's just barely 10 years old, it's not that old.
The short version from what they showed me is that basically one of them overheats, one of them overruns, and this causes one or both of them to build up soot, which makes the cycle even worse, and then it stops firing as an emergency precaution.
That sounds, see, again, having dealt with,
It sounds a lot like setup, but
well, not just that, sensors, there's sensors, like in a lot of pieces of equipment, one sensor can mess everything up.
And when they replaced the sensor last time,
Yeah.
it fixed it for about a month.
So, but that sensor may lead to another part that's not probably operating. It just sounds like a lot to do the whole thing, but I know we're only as good as who works with us to get us the information. It's just, we're not talking, back in the day, you'd think a furnace was around 10 to
Yeah.
15 grand, we're talking 50,000.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know if there was any other, not that we shouldn't have it set up to have the numbers that we need, because we can't go without heat.
Right.
But if there's any other way to do a little bit more research in why it's failing, to make sure, I'm gonna give you an example, and I'll try not to use any names, but have a pickup, goes into a dealer, and the fuel pump or something solenoid pump or whatever is gone. Tell us $15,000 to replace that.
Yep.
In a pickup that now was not worth anything if you have to buy a $15,000 repair. Do a little bit of research and we can buy that same pump and replace it for the parts $400, and we can probably put it in for, let's just say $1,000. I mean, we'll do it ourselves in our shop. What worries me is there is something along this, and it's not to say that Huckleberry's not doing the best they can, so I don't want that to be what I'm saying. It's just, has somebody put enough time and effort in to narrow down? And then you're gonna say to me, well, how much do we wanna spend to do that? I agree, because there is a certain amount of, but is there a little bit more research that we should be doing to make sure that it's not just something that's malfunctioning, that is a lot less than another $50,000?
Very good point.
Thank you, Marlo.
I will make my comment to kind of rebut that.
That's fine, go for
Which
it.
is, I've looked at a few different things for it, and it's nothing that I would be comfortable continuing to try and figure out myself, asking for $1,000 this part, several $100 part this, etc., to go down that road when I don't know that I could make it work.
Right.
I'm certainly not a heating specialist. If we wanted a heating specialist to do something like that, we're gonna pay for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be somebody replicating the work that Huckleberry did. And so the several $1,000s that we've spent on Huckleberry over the last several months would be something that someone else would have to do again for several $1,000s, hoping that we might end up with a system that is already out of warranty or close to it and at the end of its warranty life. In theory, you can keep them going for several years past that if everything's working right. So is it worth the several $1,000s to delay by a couple years? That's kind of where that question goes. The thing that I'll state now is that it's mostly running now, so this is not something that we're acting on now. It's that we are getting all of the information such that we'll be able to make an appropriate decision, hopefully within late spring, summer, when then it can get installed before the next heating season. So we have the year, and that's what we explained to the voters as well. Like, we want to consider all of these different options to do it the right way, for the right cost. I will point out that one of the companies, and I won't name them for I don't know if it matters or not, but one of the companies did say that they hope that and expect that in the June-July timeframe, they will have a new option to provide to us that would be a little bit less expensive. We're not talking half the price, but a little bit less expensive than what we've got so far. So,
At one time, I remember talking about a wood-burning furnace, and I know that the school district has a wood-burning furnace, and it works really well. So I don't know if that should be thrown in the mix too.
yeah, they do have one of those over by the high school. I don't remember which building it heats. But
Oh
they have
yeah,
one
it
over
heats the
there.
high school and the middle school.
But over there is primarily propane. I think
No,
it's
no,
all
oh, you mean the
propane
little,
now.
no, not the little school, no, I'm
yeah,
talking
the-
about the
the
big, the
elementary.
high school and middle school heat
Yeah.
with
Um,
wood chips.
And here, we are split between propane and oil, and this is the 2/all of our propane furnaces. Oddly, not the really old oil burning furnace, that's still fine. But, that's where we are with this one. Did you have anything else to add or to request, or, Dana?
No, I think I'm just trying to give you what options that we came up with. The thought I had when I heard you talking about, are we sure we're talking to the right person at the company? They're located in somewhere like Wayne, Illinois, or something like that. I think Huckleberry did put a big effort into contacting them, and I don't know how else to find someone who knows what they're talking about to ask. I wouldn't know what to ask. I don't know what kind of part it is that we need, or just that it doesn't work.
I guess, well, maybe, well, it sounds like we're just keeping, but I would like to try to get, I would need like bullet points, Dana, on a little bit of what Huckleberry has said. And I'd like to do a little bit of research on my own, my own time. Just because of having a business for 30 years and many pieces of equipment that cost tons of
I
money.
think that's fine. I'm not disagreeing
Yeah.
with that.
No, and I'm
Glad
not
to
even
get you
saying
what-
that you're wrong, and I would need a little guidance.
I'm just saying that to get a, you gotta know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
You start getting into warranties. And frankly, I mean, I don't know about businesses other than when they don't work. But Huckleberry did do, last year they did, and I'm sure Doug over there can really fill us in on what happened and what they've done.
Right.
They have talked to us about it, so I can pull that together, sure.
I know they talked about it and told us a couple times while they were here in person. Did they put the full array of what they did on the bills when they did that the last time, trying to get the?
No.
Okay,
they
they're
did
not that detailed.
I'm gonna have to call them and have them tell me what to write down.
All right. Was there a hand for a comment? Okay. Sorry, my peripheral vision is not as great as it could be when I'm wearing glasses. All right. So that will move us on to new business, which is proposition for donations of property. Talk to us about that.
We received it was interesting, in the space of 2 days, I talked with 2 different people that own small lots down at Pillsbury Lake who are getting ready to plan their estates. These are pieces that were purchased, I'm assuming, when Pillsbury Lake was starting to be developed, and I'm sure there was a marketing effort to sell these lots on a beautiful lake in beautiful New Hampshire. Both letters talk about the idea that they're getting ready to plan their estates. It doesn't really have value to them. They didn't quite word it that way, but they did kind of say that to me on the telephone. These lots are small lots. I'm not sure. I don't think they're not next to a lot that we presently own. And there's not a lot of tax impact because they're only assessed $3,000, $3,500, something like that.
So these are one property on Amherst Drive and another on New Hampshire Drive. And with that low of an assessment, I'm assuming they have not been built upon and are not able to be because they don't currently have a road. Are those correct assumptions?
On the Amherst Drive one, certainly that's the case. On the other one, Mr. Barabee told me that it was not buildable. I have not had Russ do any further research with that. He did tell me that it has a lot of wetland in it and vernal pools, which
What
certainly
they
would
told
be
me.
a factor.
That's what the owner said. I have not verified.
I mean, I don't think, in my own opinion, I don't think it would be a huge asset for the town to take these lots. I don't really, we could try and sell them, but it'd be hard to sell a lot someone could build on.
Yeah, and please, for those that have gone through the various hard road to travel and other NHMA stuff on properties and so on, we could accept these donations. In that case, we would also be able to sell them. And we could sell them at any price we wanted to and keep that full profit. I would find it rather hard to believe that, except for perhaps an immediate abutter that wants a little bit larger guarantee of their land, that there's much value in selling them. So I don't think we're gonna make much, if anything, on that. Not that we make a whole lot in taxes on them currently, but any sort of fees and dealings and tie-ups and legal that we normally go through for properties to do that are likely to eat up probably the majority of the amount that we would likely get from them. If someone thinks that's incorrect and they want to pay lots of money for one of them, please let Dana know and we can write that all up for you. However,
Quickly.
While it's nice that they're offering to donate them to the town, all that means is that they are no longer on the hook for paying taxes. And they don't have to try to sell it to get out of that. So if they eventually don't pay their taxes, then we can go through the deeding process and everything happens as per normal. But in the meantime, we continue to collect taxes. So if somebody on the board sees a specific reason that it might make sense to accept one of these, and perhaps there is value in having Dana share the two proposed lots for acceptance with, for example, the road agent and the Conservation Commission to get additional feedback for that before we make a final choice.
Yeah, I mean, at least know what we're turning
But-
down in a
Right.
sense. Because this, just to say this,
Because
but I
if
mean,
one
they're
of
not
them is
buildable
excess,
though,
yeah,
correct?
if one of, well, they say they're not.
They say that. If there's wetland and vernal pools on it, on the lot, he said, it probably wouldn't be. But,
Exceptions, except, I know many people that have bought unbuildable lots and built
And
on
found
them.
ways to build it.
Yeah, right, so I would be a little suspicious to that.
So, but, yeah, we should definitely look at that further. I don't feel comfortable making the decision now.
No, you're right.
Without
I'd like
having
to
that
see it
further feedback.
So,
Is there anybody else that we think should get those besides the Conservation Commission and road agent for further feedback to us?
and I can bring it up to the planning board this
Yeah.
week.
I mean, we can certainly ask the planning board
yeah,
if
I mean,
if they feel that
but
they're
we would
buildable
wanna,
or anything.
right, just again, we'd wanna know where they are and what,
They're going to, yep, you're
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
But it's the same situation we do whenever we go through the list of what we wanted to sell, you go to the planning board,
Yeah.
Concom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would follow that just to go
Just to-
ask them as,
Well, it's-
should we accept this?
Yeah.
And is there reason you see that the town should accept and keep this, is I think the way that I would phrase that.
yeah,
Because if we just wanna turn it around, I don't think that's financially worth our time.
And they could always ask the district if they wanted to take it too.
That's true.
You get what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Pillsbury
district.
Lake Village District could
Yeah.
accept them.
That's what I was wondering about too, because now they're starting to get back into the groove there, the Pillsbury Lake people.
But, yeah, we'll see what happens with them. Yes,
I just have a quick question. Are these accessible?
One of them is accessible from the road, one of them's on a paper road.
Thank you.
But that should be looked into.
yeah. So we'll have hopefully further information on that after the next meeting of the Conservation Commission and Planning Board. And I think that's that. Dana, is there anything else you wanted to cover on these?
Oh, I think that's fine. So you're looking for input from the Conservation Commission and the road agent.
In the planning board.
And Russ will ask the planning board, okay? Okay, great, I have it.
All right. I see a new business item for a giant joint meeting scheduling. What is this
So I
about?
can talk about that. That was what recommendation that came out of the ZBA meeting this month. It was a special meeting to discuss several issues that have been coming up repeatedly, such as code enforcement and repeat people going to the ZBA for the same things. And they just thought it might be a good idea to get all three boards in the room at the same time to kind of discuss zoning and the future of what we want for our zoning ordinance and how we want to enforce our zoning ordinance. And that would
That
involve all
sounds
three
reasonable.
boards. So we're just trying to look to see when all board members are available to do that.
Have any of the boards so far indicated times that would be reasonable to them, or a time frame that
I
they're looking to do
suggested
this?
next month because
Next month.
I feel it gives us a time to talk to all three boards in person before we scheduled it. And then we're really just looking at a time, and I would suggest it would make sense to maybe use the ZBA time, considering that time frame is always open.
When is their time?
So that would be the second Tuesday of the month, 6:30 now instead of 7.
So that would be the 9th of April. Another possible option would be the 8th, which is the Monday, because we won't be meeting that. It's between our two meeting days. I'm able to do either of those evenings.
Doesn't matter to me.
I'm gonna be traveling home on the 8th
Okay,
of April, you were saying, right?
No,
Yes.
I thought you said 9th
of April. So 8th is Monday, which would match our meeting time. The 9th is Tuesday, which would match ZBA's meeting time.
Oh,
I
okay.
can do the 9th.
By 9th.
Okay.
I'd be concerned for the 8th.
Want to try to do it earlier? I was like earlier.
So
That's
that's,
funny.
Me too!
I did like earlier.
So I do, 9th.
Marlo likes that.
9th should be
Everybody made me sleep
fine,
already.
if that works with others. The board has, we've all indicated we could do that.
what time is that gonna be?
That's what I'm asking, because we could do it at 6:30, we could do it earlier. Because generally, I think we meet at these times so people could get home after work to go, who's coming in to apply for it.
Mhm.
So this is more of a group get-together to discuss the future.
I think this is one that a lot of people would probably have interest in.
Yeah.
And especially being that you're talking about code enforcement, zoning, et cetera, make sure that you're inviting, maybe not to have to schedule into a joint meeting, but make sure you're inviting, for example, a representative from the Conservation Commission, make sure that you're inviting the road agent, and
Yep, that was already
and
discussed.
also our existing code enforcement officer should also be there.
Yeah, that was already discussed at the ZBA meeting. They also want to invite some members of the police department who go out,
Yes.
often
Yes.
go out and take a look at it as well.
Perfect.
So,
Shoot
I
for
like that.
5.
shoot for 5.
30? I don't care, I'm being silly.
In order to keep things semi-standard. A lot of meetings are 6:30.
Yeah.
So-
All right.
So I think we should just stick with it since we're trying to get so many people and
Are
get
you
them
gonna have
after
jet
work.
lag?
Huh?
Are you gonna have any jet lag?
No.
Okay, just checking.
So.
So we're gonna do.
I'm okay with that. Make sure
Usually
that they are, if it's not, like, send out the emails.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to the planning board, and then if the planning board is in agreement, then I'll send out to the ZBA, and if everybody seems like it's a good plan, we'll go ahead and do it.
Perfect.
So right now, we're shooting for the ninth.
We're shooting for the 9th, and we'll talk to the planning board and see if there's large, obviously, they can't make it, then we'll work something else out. But I wouldn't expect it to be a problem.
All right.
Who's gonna chair the meeting?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Probably should be this board.
Being that it's coming from the ZBA and it's speaking of zoning, I would say that it should probably be the ZBA that chairs it.
Well, the ZBA
The
did ask
planning,
for it.
the planning board
Top of mind.
could, because it's also zoning, which they are the start of. We're probably the only one that shouldn't chair it, because we help enforce it, but it's not really us, so.
Well, that's kind of the reason we need to have the discussion.
So, yes, I would suggest that the ZBA is probably the appropriate board to chair it. Does the rest of the board here agree? Okay. Yeah, I don't think it matters too much, but, yeah.
Just draw straws.
Especially if we're gonna do it basically at their meeting, so this
Yeah, I mean, we're
becomes
just
an
gonna meet
agenda
up here
item in
and
their meeting.
we're gonna have to set up some more tables.
Unless they get a lot of whatever, I don't remember exactly what they call them, but basically cases that they have to,
We have no cases
Okay.
for next month, so it's a good month to do it.
okay.
The deadline's already passed.
Oh, okay. That makes that easy.
I wouldn't have suggested it if we had cases.
All right. Anything further on that?
And that's it for that one.
All right. There is, the next item would be correspondence, one of which looks like it's, actually more of a, we need to make a decision, which is the one from Upton and Hatfield. Dana, do you want to cover that before we jump into whatever else correspondence you may have?
Yeah, this was, relates to the public service case from 2018 and 19. I did get interrogatories, which I need to fill out, but I need help from the attorney or the utility appraiser that they hired, because it's asking a lot of technical questions of how it was done in 2018 and 2019. And so I just need that backup to go with it. But someone does need to go and represent the town at the mediation hearings. And that's in May 20 through 22nd.
So is that
There are
something?
19 towns involved with this.
So is that something where you're looking for us to appoint you as our representative, or is that something where we'll be sending our legal counsel, or wanting to do that and looking for approval of funding for that? What are you looking for or expecting?
Well, I think what I'm looking for, first of all, I'd like to, if any member of the board would like to go, or if you'd like to appoint me to go, I don't think that we would need to have our own attorney go, because basically, Upton and Hatfield in this case are our attorneys. But I certainly, I may ask John to kind of clarify a few questions that I have. But, so I think I'm just looking for, did you want me to go, I guess is the quick question that I have.
So the whole deal of this is they want money back from the towns? Is that what they're fighting?
This is an abatement case. And the town,
But
turned
public
them
service
down
doesn't have
in-
much money.
No, so they need help, but, so they brought this to Superior Court, and Superior Court, when it got into COVID, they put many cases on hold until things changed. And I had never heard of this case until, last summer, when we got a notice from Upton Hatfield, said, guess what, this is active again. And you've signed on to be part of this 19-town group, which the town did back in 2019 or somewhere like there. That's what it is. It's basically an abatement case. They feel they've been overcharged for their transmission lines.
Oh, public service feels they're overcharged for their transmission lines.
As they come to
Right?
Webster.
They feel the assessment's inappropriate or
Okay.
disproportionate, I guess is the word.
I would think that Dana somebody should go, right?
Well, someone was required legally to go.
Okay, yeah,
So the question is who,
yeah,
and
well,
I feel that it's probably appropriate to have the town administrator go.
Yeah.
I think so too.
so tag, you're it.
I would move, we should probably have a motion for that.
I think that would be good if you would.
Okay.
So I would move that we appoint Dana as our representative to this initial mediation hearing.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
Aye.
you're it.
All right, did we have any further communication?
I think that was the only correspondence I had.
Oh, impact fees, okay. Sorry, I was just looking at some of the other stuff that you put in the packet, but that is not actually correspondence, so that works. All right, that moves us on to public comment. Yes,
Question, but go ahead, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Who did you recognize first? Kim, do you want, I don't know. All I want to say is that it is very disruptive in a meeting for people just to speak out at any time. And it's very difficult to watch if you're watching the video later. It would be really helpful if everybody, the audience, is quiet until public comment. If there's any way to enforce it.
yeah, thank you. We usually try to do a school classroom style where it's a raise hand, so that way I can recognize and then go back to them if we're in the middle of something. That's usually what I try to do, in order to not have to do something super strict like Robert's rules, because no one wants to deal with that. But thank you for the comment. Yes?
I just have a quick question. I've been looking at the New Hampshire Municipal Association and a couple of other significant things. And I just had one question. Is Webster as a municipality do they in fact recognize home rule?
Who's they?
Do we, as a municipality? No. Thank you. I just want to, I mean, I understand Dillon's law, and I understand home rule. Webster is not a home rule town, correct?
No
Or,
town in New
I
Hampshire-
would
town
like
in
the
New
answer,
Hampshire.
yes or no.
No town in New Hampshire is.
Thank you. So, no town in New Hampshire is a home rule town. I just want that clear. Thank you. That was my only question.
All right. Any other public comment?
Yes, thank you for a good meeting, and thank you for a good town meeting. I think it went well. Well handled, we got through the whole agenda. It was good. Thank you.
It was good.
Thank you for the comment. I'm definitely glad that we managed to go through everything.
And the moderator did a great job.
Yes,
he
town
did.
meeting is definitely mostly about the moderator.
He does a
Yeah.
good job.
Haven't realized that until sitting in this seat.
Yep. All right.
Another
Yes.
I'll let him go first.
I thought I saw something, I don't know if it was in the paper or online, something about the transfer station, looking at fees.
Sure. I can cover that. Is that just a general question or?
Well, an apprehension that they're gonna start charging us to go in the gate.
Okay.
I mean,
So,
probably misquoted or something.
yeah,
I'm
so I'll try to unpack the various things that have been said around that you may or may not have heard. There have been lots of, everybody's gonna get charged this is gonna be horrible, you're gonna pay a whole lot more, you're gonna have to pay to do this, you're gonna have to buy green bags, all of those sorts of things have been said. None of them are really true. What is happening is that as periodically needs to, the tipping fees and so on that show up, if you're showing up with, like several tons worth of stuff in the back of a truck to dump at the transfer station, those kinds of fees are being looked at, as are, like if you're dumping off a TV or a bunch of old tires. Those fees have existed, and what they should be charging for those based on how much the transfer station has to pay to get rid of them is being considered. There have been a couple joint meetings about that with Hopkinton, none of which have come up with consensus on anything as of yet. One of the primary contentious issues was the commercial tipping fee for trash, which is where the petition warrant article that no petitioner moved to bring forward at town meeting also came from. The price there is, depending on how you look at it, based on total cost, which is higher than what's listed and what it has been for a long time, or just the cost to get rid of the thing, but not taking into account any of the facility, any of the time, any of the maintenance, et cetera, et cetera. And somewhere in there is where probably is considered to be fair by most people. Again, that doesn't exist at this point. Regarding process, and where you may have heard this meeting from something that may or may not have been misquoted from me from the town meeting, is that the typical process, like with all other fee schedules for like cost per copy or using the hall here, is done via public hearing by the select board. And so with the new agreement in place, and not wanting to try to do anything until then to make sure that everything was going to be done exactly as it was supposed to be with the new agreement, the two towns, in hopefully the near future, will have another joint meeting that will determine what we think as the two towns should be put forth. Then each town individually would have a public hearing on the fee schedule, and then would move to either take it back to the two towns jointly or to approve or change that fee schedule. None of that, unless you're bringing a load of stuff or the rare TV or appliance to get rid of, should change anything for you other than they see more revenue from higher usage of particular parties. So that might actually help the revenue side, so our taxes might be a little bit lower based on what we get charged from them. But individuals should not see any change in Webster other than that possible small change. Hopefully that clears that up. And just because people talk about green bags, as part of the agreement, it is stated to make it that the two towns may run individual programs on their own and be in charge of their own budgets to run them and revenues from them. But that way, there's no longer the, well, we're doing green bags, Webster really has to do this. That does not exist under the new agreement. And so if, I don't think it would ever happen, but if Webster wanted to do green bags, that must come as a warrant article and be approved at town meeting.
I don't know if you know the history, but there was a time when they tried the green bags, and what happened?
Hopkinton is still using them, and Hopkinton has
You know what
had them
happened in this
almost
town?
every year.
It's not gonna happen in Webster, I can almost guarantee
Well, the
it.
selectmen ended up with all the garbage on their lawn, that's what happened. I'm serious.
Serious.
It's history.
Well, I talked purple bags, but they didn't like that.
You can
No,
have
they
purple
had,
bags
they
on
had,
your lawn.
they had to go around with the green bag and I don't even know if they fully believe in it, but
Well, not all the
we
people.
don't have to.
And they were talking about, not all the people in Hopkinton use those bags either,
It's
so.
kind of a-
It's kind of a
Yeah.
waste of time,
No, it
you know,
goes
my
back to my original
estimation.
thing about, how do you motivate people?
I'm sorry, what?
How do you motivate people?
Not with green bags.
Yeah, yeah, right.
No, and I think they feel that.
Well, the only thing they've really been motivated to with green bags is to hire outside companies to pick their stuff
Exactly.
up and dump them, in which case they're never going to the transfer station to recycle either. So, yes.
No, we didn't know that. We didn't know
is-
that happened.
That's kind of the larger, rounder package of the whole transfer station fees thing. Hopefully that makes a bit more sense. Did you have any other questions on it that maybe I didn't quite answer?
No? No?
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
I'd just like to say just a couple of things, and then I have some questions at the end. The first thing I'd like to say is that your board, this board, has done such a wonderful, tedious job regarding all the policies. They are so much better than the old policies, and it must have been absolutely crazy for you guys to have to do all that. It just must have taken so long. I know the whole
Lots of
town,
meetings.
the whole town really appreciates it, because it's a labor of love for you guys. So, you know, it was very much appreciated.
And I'll just interrupt you for 1 second
Yeah.
there to say that part of that is also a labor of love on Dana's part.
Absolutely.
He was one that, like, we wanted to review the policies, he really wanted to have a fully constructed policy book. And so, everybody thank Dana for that, because a lot of that is him.
Agreed.
Thank you, Dana.
We do it when he's not here. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it says he's here,
I know. Snoring
We
again.
think-
we can't see him, but hopefully he
And then,
does.
I think the town meeting brought a lot more transparency to the townspeople as far as town and state policies. And we can all learn from this and work together for the good of the town. I think it went well. I'm not unhappy with anything to do with that warrant article. I just think the whole meeting was good. But, and I'd like to take a quote from a very lovely lady who is no longer with us. You know her. You know her. She owned Stebbins' store with her husband and was our town clerk for many, many years, Ruth Stebbins. She used to always say, "I'm not complaining, I'm just explaining." And that's perfect. It's perfect. So my question is about the attorney that Upton and Hatfield sent here at the meeting. You almost choked, didn't you? How much did we pay the attorneys for her to come here? She was completely ill-prepared. She had no answers for anything. And she was talking all about a lawsuit, I've never heard of a lawsuit. And it was wrong. I spoke to Dana about it. Dana, you still there?
Still here, yeah.
Yeah, well, I had spoken to you about it, because you were sitting right there next to her. And
Yes, I certainly was.
And she had no answers for anything. She didn't have paperwork. And the article went away before I could get the question out. What is she talking about, a lawsuit? Do you folks know?
She later explained, after Mike, our moderator, prompted, that
I brought Mike over
that
to
she
talk to
was
her.
actually referring to the criminal court case that had happened, not that we brought a lawsuit, but that litigation had happened.
Because she
At least
showed.
that's my understanding of what that came
That is
out
what
as.
happened, because she was sitting there and I was asking her about the lawsuit, and she had the piece of paper that Dana gave me 2 weeks ago. It was what the board had decided on that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And she showed me, I said, what's the lawsuit? Oh, it's right here. I said, no, that's not a lawsuit. That's it's a misdemeanor state RSA.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they went to court. And I said, yes, I know they went to court. It was a misdemeanor, but that's not a lawsuit. Well, yes, it was. And this is very upsetting that they sent somebody who was so ill-prepared, she did not have an answer for anything. And my gut tells me, well, that was the reason she was here. Because I know it was a controversial article, and that's all behind us. But what did we pay her?
So I'll leave what we paid to Dana, because I think he may still be talking to them
I was gonna
about
say,
that.
we haven't paid it yet.
However,
Negotiating.
however, I will say that as soon as the article was presented to us, we immediately asked to have our standard, normal legal representative here.
And
who
I
was the one
agree-
that
I agree
we
with
talked
that.
with.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they had already been booked at another town meeting at the same time. So that's why we could not get them here. I'll leave we're trying to figure out how much we do or don't pay to Dana once he's figured that out.
That's my only problem with it, is that we should not have to pay for somebody when we could have grabbed somebody off the street and they would have done just as well.
Probably had the lawyer right in the audience for us.
Do you have anything to state on that so far, Dana, or is it just something that you're still talking about?
I haven't gotten as far as to know about a cost. I certainly agree with Tara, that we should pay what it's worth, which was nothing. But I know I'm not gonna get out of it for that, but I was so, happy, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, because I had spent a good deal of time making sure that I explained exactly what the background was, where it had gone, and was available to answer any question. And I know I'm kind of whining, but then when she came and she had to go down to my office to look up a law online. I don't know, I shouldn't say it in a public meeting, but I was very disappointed, and I certainly agree with Tara, and I'm going to work how I can as far as cost.
It kind of reminded me, as they always say sometimes, about you're practicing medicine. Felt like she was practicing law.
I mean,
I thought to myself, oh, is she still in school?
I did ask her if she was a lawyer, and she just gave me the deer in the headlight look. I mean, she was very soft-spoken and nice, hard to hear her, but,
I
it was
kind
just
of wonder
uncomfortable.
if they sent a representative from the office instead of an actual lawyer.
Oh dear.
Because she introduced
certainly
herself
looks
as
that way.
so-and-so representing the practice.
Right.
Yeah, she didn't say
Practice.
attorney or.
Sorry, what was that, Dana?
I guess I'm just, I think, I think our law firm is a very good one, and I am
Yes.
disappointed with them that they sent her because she certainly was woefully unprepared. I'm assuming she was a lawyer, but, I think that I could have done a better job, and I shouldn't say that, but there you go. It just
Well,
was
you
a
always
bad
have,
situation all the way around.
we have very good luck with a lawyer that, I mean, whenever the question is asked,
Very
it's
responsive,
responsive,
very
and, I
professional.
mean, I've dealt with a lot of lawyers in my life.
Oh, he's
Yeah,
you
just,
know,
I think he's
have
awesome.
nothing- But our own lawyer is great.
That's right, because he's
You know,
very,
I'm sorry he couldn't
committed.
come, that he's
But
in
this-
Newcastle, but anyway.
Thing.
Yeah, I will simply state on that matter that, like with the previous law firm, once we were no longer dealing with what had always been our lawyer over there, because of health issues, getting ready to retire, et cetera, the rest of the law firm was not the same quality as what this
Yeah.
town would
It's
expect.
hard, it's like finding a good doctor.
And so,
Yeah, it is.
so yeah, I'll leave it at that, and Dana's working on how much we cannot have to pay.
And enough said. Thank
Is
you.
there any further public comment?
Are you through? For the record, particularly the public record, and just a bit of follow-up pertaining to this warrant article, I'd just like it to be known, particularly to the public, beyond even all of the inhabitants in Webster, that, Chara has done such a significant job here
I had help.
and John Pearson,
And more help.
and any others that I'm not aware of or mentioning. I apologize if in fact I'm not fully well aware. But I do want this on the record. This has been a huge, huge endeavor. Significantly, to not only find this, be fervent in chasing it down, uncovering it all, bringing it to accountability, and subsequently following it through. For in all honesty, all of our best interests. Because from my understanding at this point in time, it's happening factually in a significant amount of other towns. And people have individually let me know that this is happening by public officials everywhere. But that's not my point and why I'm bringing this up, or why I'd like this on the public record. What I would like on the public record is the fact that Chara has been recognized not only by the state of New Hampshire for the First Amendment Awards, but she has also been awarded at the New England level for the First Amendment Awards for this particular case. And I think that is significant. I know that only because I was personally invited to be in attendance, and I felt honored at the New England level for her to be a recipient, because not very many people receive that. So I just want that on the record, because that is a significant, significant award, both at the New Hampshire level as well as the New England level. That says something. Thank you.
I would agree that says something, and I see you wanting to talk. I'm going to let you in 1 second.
Okay.
I want to say that not only does that speak to the amount of passion that Tara and our other citizens have, because lots of citizens have a lot of passion about this town, be it this issue or other issues. But that we are an involved town that expects and allows people to do this in a way that can actually be heard and be recognized.
And that's where home rule comes in.
And so I think that everybody in town is worthy of applause for going through the whole process trying to understand it, no matter which way they feel on the subject, and actually trying to understand it, and then going through with it and realizing, okay, this is how it happened, where it happened, how it was finalized. And everybody talking about it, while some people don't necessarily like the fact that it's being talked about, everybody talking about it helps educate everybody as to how the system works and the kinds of protections that we as a board have tried to put in place, that the state has tried to put into place.
Constitutionally.
So that everybody will know about this, that sort of thinking in the future.
To have people, that's way beyond the scope of Webster.
Mm-hmm.
To be paying attention to that, as well as recognizing that, that's a significant amount of exposure for people to be eyeing that and then putting their own vote behind that. That is a First Amendment award. That's huge. That scope is beyond the state of New Hampshire. Yes, that's one award she received. But think about New England. Who are we constitutionally? We're one of the 13, correct? Just saying. Thank you.
Sorry, so you were going to say?
What I want, Dana, are you still there?
Oh, I think we might have just lost the battery. on
Yeah,
it.
something happened.
Yeah, battery died on it.
Battery's dead. So much for Dana.
Well, he's toast.
Yeah, the battery's dead.
Well, he can watch this on your video thing. I want to thank Dana because I put him through total HE double hockey sticks, trying to find the information. Because in the very beginning, there was, when he was new here, and there was nothing, everything was wiped out. And the poor guy, he was wonderful. I can't imagine having a better town administrator. He was fantastic. And so many kudos to him for all that there were a bunch of us that all we put him through, and he's just a Superman. So,
We are
Yes,
very
he is.
fortunate in having.
we are.
And we're fortunate to have Tara.
Very good town.
And her whole team,
Town
who-
board.
like whoever did that.
I hesitate to bring this up. I was deputy chief for many years here, and we always went through this process. How do you get rid of an old fire truck? And then, can you, right now, go look up what happened to all your old fire trucks? Who ended up with them? Who paid what for them? It's process and procedures. Look at the presidents, we've got records in their basements. Process and procedures. Is it documented? How is it followed up? How is it recorded?
Mm-hmm. Policies and
This is
procedures.
only one of the small layers of this big onion.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a lot more layers to look at.
We are working on a couple of them. Hopefully we'll have more policies and procedures in place. Dana is currently working on when you become town administrator, here's not only the policy book, but the procedures and the normal places to go for things. And so Dana's been really good at championing that and working on it. I know it's certainly not going as fast as he would like it to, but I know that he's working on it.
And he has other
That's an
things to do,
important part
too.
of what we want to make sure is here, so that everything we can be documented and found in the future. So thank you for that comment. Any further public comment? All right. So that moves us on to our draft meeting minutes and then the signing of documents.
We can have to approve these ones I forgot to put a motion in.
Oh, which one?
So there was the sealing of the non-public minutes.
Oh,
Dana reminded me he had it in his
yeah, because
notes.
he has them written.
He had it in
that
his
they will
notes and I
button
didn't
on.
have it in my notes.
Perfect.
And
Ladies
also,
here to get your check.
I have to retype them from scratch for whatever reason, like Peter didn't say something.
Oh,
You
awesome.
got them in front of you, but I have to retype them.
All right. So were there any other amendments that wanted to be made to the minutes? All right.
Remember, I'm never gonna find those.
I'm retyping, I'm like,
So that's fine. So, do you want us to just wait then?
No, I'm not here
Until you
yet.
provide the newer ones?
I need to,
Okay, perfect.
we got some non-public to approve
That-
too.
That's how fast
Yep.
it's happened.
Do you want to
So-
approve the non-public?
So I would move that we approve the non-public sessions that are presented to us. And I don't think they're labeled as which ones, but there are three
March 4th, right.
from March 4th.
I second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we will look for the public session ones once they are
Once I
recreated
retype
and
them.
amended with your fixed
I got
There
it.
was only one issue for
because we
non-public.
can't just say change that if
I
it's gonna
think
be
there was only one
retyped.
issue.
Well, yeah, because I'm hoping I get it all the same.
So that brings us to motions and signing. Do you have stuff for us to
Oh, yeah,
sign?
oh, yeah, we got stuff to sign. So
Of
this
course he
is
does.
an abatements from Karen, so generally with the campground, it's I think, outstanding fee of over $10. We abate it because it's gonna cost more money to lien it than it was to pay the bill, because it'll cost about $30 to lien it, so it's not worth it.
Yeah, this is our standard thing.
Well,
And hopefully
unfortunately,
they pay anyway. They still have time to do that.
unfortunately for you, it looks like you have a motion for the trustees of the trust fund, so
Yes.
those are huge.
It is the
Not fun.
quarterly time. I will pass these down because that's documentation. I'll have that in front of me in a second. Are there other things for us to sign?
Oh,
before
Looks
we
like
do
some
that?
Visa bills.
Those. I trust you, we know what you're
Well,
doing.
I think these are
Utility
the ones
bill.
that we already approved.
Yeah, right.
And my favorite, the Pitney Bowes machine. I
That
hate
can go
that
down,
machine.
that's the Visa stuff.
Okay.
This is, oh, Unitil stuff.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
See, I said I could have handled
Yeah, just fair enough.
it. You need a pen? I got a pen.
I do need a pen, this one's
Yeah.
styled.
I know, right?
I come prepared.
toe again, take it down.
Now that's so cute.
Whoa, that one looks really dark compared to mine.
Yeah, it's
Now
a
that's
nice pen.
scary.
That's why I brought it
To
up.
you.
This is the
signed it.
Pitney Bowes
And
machine.
you got
Yeah,
this.
this one is to go back.
This one goes
I
back
gotta keep
there.
track of these or somebody's gonna beat me up tomorrow.
We'll come to see that.
one you can-
Yeah, really.
Is that gonna be
Everyone
on
went.
pay-per-view?
Okay, that's a lot of good
We'll
stuff.
charge $10 and we'll donate all the proceeds to the historic society. There we go.
Yeah, you're gonna be beat up.
That's a weird wording for that, okay? Purchase power statement, but it is the Pitney Bowes machine.
It does save us money, but still, I wish it didn't jam as much as it does.
And other
You know what?
signatories?
So those are intent to cuts, that's for the big logging job that happened. Then we'll have payroll, and then I think the last thing is,
So are these
Oh, no,
intents or
you're
are
No,
these
he
the,
said it
no,
wrong.
this is
Those are
the,
taxes.
yeah, this is the
That's the
tax.
tax.
Timber tax.
I'm gonna hand
Oh
these
my-
to Marlo first,
How long was that?
okay,
so that she can look through them, and if she
and
believes
that's
them to
payroll,
be relatively
we appreciate
accurate,
it.
then,
As
I'll sign
Dana
off
would
on
say.
that, 'cause she's the expert there.
You're the expert.
Oh,
Man, you're the expert.
We have to pay $2.
Payroll,
And that says the invoices, if you'd like to see
yes.
them. There were a couple I had questions on, I wonder if you'll have the same questions. So I made sure I ran through that with Dana.
Maybe you can just answer them before I go into here. Boundary Medical is,
I didn't ask about Boundary Medical, but I know they work with the fire department quite often. That was not one of the ones I asked about.
just so I have an idea of what it's for. Okay, this is medical supplies that were probably used by the fire department.
Correct. That was in my assumption.
So it's replacement supplies for them. Cedar lumber. I'm assuming they
Well,
probably
you see a
bought some.
lumber lot, so it could be Brenda, it could be Emmett.
Okay, and then we have those. Phase 1, third installment. Fog?
Right, but that's for the Unitil case.
Okay,
The
thank you.
Public utilities case. That's their assessor that
Yep.
they hired.
Fire inspection stuff.
So I got one.
Image trend, is that the new?
That's the other one I asked about. So that's for, remember the software we purchased for inputting the data for the fire department calls?
Oh, yes, yes.
That's that.
Ah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, 2 for 2.
This tax bill was for the state job.
That's for the state job.
So I just want to state, on this one, this is awesome. As many people may have heard discussed previously, Merrimack Valley School District overcharged us last year. This did not affect tax rates, it's not going to affect tax rates, unfortunately, or fortunately, because it would have been much worse last year. But that is one of the reasons that our cash flow was so cramped last year, and why we made sure to put into place our various policies to make sure that wouldn't be a problem. However, they were planning on spacing out that repayment by, well, we'll just take the same amount off all 12 monthly bills that we send out to the town. And I got Dana on it by saying, well, what about the interest they would owe us? And so rather than calculating interest, they've given it all back to us this time. So our total for this March school payment is $31,835.
Amen.
Instead of the 300 something that we normally pay. So that is wonderful. We can now get interest on it in our unassigned funds.
That's insane.
Good job, Dave.
Clerks and standard stuff, all right.
A bill
Love
for
that.
gas monitors.
Really?
Not sure what that one was about. Dana didn't mention it to me, so. It looks like it's for the fire department though.
It says Webster Police Department.
That was for the police department.
For gas standard, let's see, washing. I'm not sure if it's actually police department or if it's just that's what it's listed to ship to because of, that's the front office that's often
Right.
there. And we've dealt with them before.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It does say it's attention as the Webster Fire Department. For the final shipping of the quote. Can you call David and ask him what this actually is?
I can see. Let me turn my phone back on because I didn't want it to ring during the meeting.
Man, I have a
So I
question.
have an idea, but
We must get a lot of
I don't wanna
money
sign it until I know what
all
it
over
is.
this town. 'Cause this goes to the town.
Yeah, but that was the state plan, yeah. That was a sizable sale.
So we have to give it back to the state? Oh, really? That's
No.
amazing. Well, they're not after that.
No, but you don't really get much revenue tax wise, so that's good money on the.
It was over what was quoted, so.
Yeah, yeah.
You missed this one.
Oh, did I, I'm sorry. Wake up.
And I just did that one exactly the way Rick did it because I wasn't doing that big.
Well, because of, it, well, on a state job, that's usually how they do it, whatever.
Because that's what Rick said the assessment was, so that's what I kept it as.
And if Rick says. Special rep.
All right, that's done.
Oh, man, I need some a couple messages. I'll call him.
Okay.
That's before 9 o'clock,
missed
so I
that
think
one.
it's still
Oh,
okay.
jeez.
Here's this, and the first one of these.
And you're up. What's the-
This is the one we're
Yep,
asking
they
about.
have a question about the gas monitor bill. What was that for?
The what?
And what? I think it's based on the fire department finding
Yep,
the natural, the
yep, so it's for the
propane.
fire department. So it is for the fire department.
Perfect.
Yep, that's where the confusion came in. Cause they're like, why does the police department need gas monitors?
Yeah, thankfully they found it. and shut it
Yeah,
off.
really. Jeez.
Okay, I mean, it makes sense, cause it's a safety building. All right, is that every?
We could have come back to finding pieces of that home in
Just
everybody
gonna
else's
ask
home
if
in
they have any
town.
more
Boy,
questions.
that,
Do you
yeah,
have any more
really.
questions for Dana?
Any further questions for Dana?
This
No.
PSNH first of the third installments. What is that?
That's the.
That's for the utility appraiser.
That's
Gotcha.
that utility.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it, Dana. Right? Yep, I'm all set.
I asked.
Oh, good.
I also asked that because I went through the bills before you and I'm like, I don't know what it is, I'm not gonna be able to explain it.
That's right.
All right. Are there any further signings?
Wrong question.
That's up to you.
Are there any further signings?
That's it.
Okay, so, we will have the motion for trustees, but, go ahead.
I just
While
have
they're finishing.
one quick question for clarity. When we were here at that budget meeting, I had asked, a question in regards to the historic committee,
Mhm.
right? Whereas that had been a warrant article proposal,
Yep,
and you said, no, we took that off of the warrant articles?
correct.
Okay. So, just for clarification, because I'm a little confused, don't misunderstand me, Dee. I just kind of read my grapevine that I received today briefly while I was watering. It said that the history committee is defunct. Recognizing that that did not go on the warrant article, the town of Webster still has a history committee, correct?
No.
Oh. How did it get defunct?
By people no longer being a committee.
Yeah, people weren't.
I mean, we can create, so for example, we have the, what we refer to as the solar subcommittee, but it's the committee that deals with working with the Deer Meadow Solar Project. That hasn't met in a very long time.
Yeah.
We do, or I do send out updates when I get them from the solar company of where they're expecting to go. So we are still technically active, we still exist. All of those people exist in town, all of those people still say they're on the committee. It is still chaired by me as a offshoot from what we're requesting to do. If there aren't enough people to have a committee, or if we're done what we were put there to do, then there's no more committee for it. That's how that works. It's not a voted on thing in town. Committees come, committees go. There was a bridge committee, there was a road committee, there were all kinds of committees
Agricultural
that-
Commission.
Well, commissions are different.
But
But
it has
committees
not
come and
met,
go.
although it still exists, correct?
Committees come and go.
Correct. What, I thought that we had spoken about at that budget hearing,
Okay?
when you mentioned the history
Sign that.
committee going away, I said, please don't do that. And you said, we withdrew that from the warrant article. So I guess,
So-
forgive
so-
me, but I assumed that we were gonna continue to have that as a standing committee. Otherwise, I guess I would have taken the appropriate action that evening.
So we don't have the committee. What we took off of the warrant was the funding that is sitting in a fund for the purpose that that committee did, which in theory is going to exist again in a few more years. And that purpose is to print the history books. And
But-
whether it's the committee, Historic Society, or somebody else that comes up with what that history book should be, That's what those funds are set aside specifically to do, and there's been indication that that book is being worked on. For us, it doesn't
Why would
really
that
matter
not
that
be-
the history committee of the time, no matter what the background of that is, were the ones to put in the warrant article that this would be a fund that would get that $1,000 and the interest towards this purpose.
So are we
So that's what the purpose is.
Let me get clear. Will we in fact be subcontracting on a separate nonprofit to do our history committee report?
No, I don't think so. I was on history book committee last time, and it was just volunteers doing lots of work. And we did it. One really nice thing I loved is once a month they had, or maybe it was twice a month, I don't know, but they had, people would talk on, like the old timers would come, transportation. The meeting would be all transportation or old house or what, and everybody, I even brought my kids to that. That
Were
was
you
one-
on that history committee?
I was originally.
Oh, of course you were.
Not the book.
So why would we
Yeah,
get
for
rid
the
of
book,
it?
yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
the book actually has the people who were on the history committee that put the book together.
Yeah,
Your name's not on there.
No,
You
I-
did the quilt, and you participated in all the oral histories.
Yeah.
I mean, those are great. But
Oh, it is, it's
yeah,
really,
I know.
And
all
I know
that
somebody-
stuff's in the archive.
because I was always asking, who has all those, because it was on
Yeah.
Who
tape.
does have all those archives of the
Somebody-
town?
Pardon?
Who does have all those archives of the town?
Somebody has it.
Who does?
The Historic Society does.
Why would they have it if it's the town's property?
Wait. We have not ever established who actually formed that committee. Did you read the article in the Grapevine?
I think probably what I have to do is probably go back through town reports.
Well, go right ahead, it's already been done.
She's already done it.
So who
But anyway,
established the
it-
committee?
I'm sorry?
Who did establish
Just
the committee?
That's what we
volunteers.
don't know.
Whoever wanted to
So
volunteer.
we're putting this onto a separate nonprofit
We-
to
we
do
are not-
our history book?
We are not putting
Rather
this.
than having people individually volunteer for the benefit of
Kim,
the
we are
town?
not putting this on anybody. We have simply said that we are not removing the funding for what comes out of however the history book gets made. That's the only decision that we've made, is that we did not try to remove the funding for being able to print a history book.
So
That's it.
where is that funding now? Sitting in general
Still
fund?
sitting in the trust fund.
In
that was
a
there.
general fund?
Making
No,
interest,
in its
hopefully.
own trust fund. where it's
In a
always been.
designated trust fund?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But I think the history book was 1983, the last
Well,
one.
So-
yeah, it was actually published in early '84.
Yeah,
And
but they
the
have it right.
Historic Society
It's-
actually has
So-
the copy of the copyright, by the way.
So,
I have a copy of the book.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
okay, so let's go ahead and.
The Society of
take
the
that-
Preservation of the Old Meeting House though, right?
Excuse me, that's.
Because that was
we're-
before
we're gonna try to
1984?
keep going here. Obviously, there's
just wanna be
discussion
clear.
for
Just factual, just factual.
Historic Society and History Committee, and we're happy to bless a history committee if somebody wants to put one together, have a number of people and do all of the work. We are more than happy to bless said committee if they bring
David,
forth names.
Thank you so much. I
That being
so
said,
appreciate you putting
we're-
that on the record. Thank you.
That being said, we're going to move forward with our motion for the trustees of trust funds, as we
Thank
talk
you.
about trust funds. So I would request the trustees of trust funds issue a check in the total amount of $94,836 payable to the town of Webster to reimburse the town for expenses to be withdrawn from capital reserve funds and expendable trust funds as listed. To withdraw $34,117.05 from the Bridge Improvement Capital Reserve Fund, and to withdraw $19,780 from the Highway Building and Land Capital Reserve Fund, to withdraw $598.75 from the Highway and Roads Capital Reserve Funds, to withdraw $802.70 from the Road Preservation Expendable Trust Fund, and to withdraw $39,537.50 from the Webster Hopkinton Transfer Station Capital Reserve Fund.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And In case anyone is not aware, we used to make these motions basically at every single meeting. We now store them up and do it once quarterly to make it far easier for the trustees of trust funds, and also to make it easier to track all of the stuff as it goes through our budget items. And so Dana has a much easier time bringing up any sort of reports for how things were spent. And so it's great for transparency and great for ease of meetings. Yes. All right. Is there any further business that we need to take care of tonight?
Oh, we have another 3 items now. No.
Anything else from the board?
No, thank you.
All right. That being said, then I would move that we adjourn at 8:54.
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Let's turn the camera on.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Never paid attention to this.
And that was the reason we were doing it. It was gonna come up, Jan.